Thank you for coming. I see a lot of new faces here for the Earthen Construction Initiative. We've been doing this monthly presentation series now for like about 2 years, I think. We've had a spot every month except for last January we showed a video, which we'll probably do again this January. It's been pretty cool that we've been able to bring all these speakers in to talk about something that has to do with earthing construction or a related topic. We've had some interesting related topics, and it's also pretty cool that we have this space for our use, and thank the Southwest School of Art for that. We have our board meetings here, and then they let us extend the stay so that we can do this presentation, which is free and open to the public. We don't pass a hat, we haven't been doing that, but we do, I urge you guys, if you're interested in what our mission is, you can support us through joining. You could always make a donation, we would accept that, but if you want to join and be members, it's $50 for a general membership, and it's $25 if you're a student, you want to be a member, and $75 if you want in the professional category, and then there's also a corporate category to that. But anyway, we don't have to charge for this because we have a good relationship with Southwest School of Art. We give them a donation every year just for to keep that relationship going. So things that we want to do in the future that your membership would contribute to is putting on workshops and that kind of thing, and further development of codes and standards. So just a little pitch there for that. And then I actually got to see this when it was on TV, and it was a really cool story. I'm super impressed that it all came together in 5 months. That's crazy, the building that you could live in to go together that fast. I'm interested to know the behind the scenes. The show didn't focus a lot on the technical aspects of the building, so I think that'll be, we get to have the insider peek here with Brian today as to how that went. And Brian Runge is owner of Advanced Earthing Construction Technologies, and then he's also the owner of this new Earth Block Ranch, 2-bedroom home, and he's going to share his experience with that with us now. So thank you very much for coming for that.
Yeah, thanks for having me. So if you haven't seen the episode yet, I boiled it down to a 1-minute clip that'll just like give you a flavor of it, just to kind of give you a context of why I'm here, like what this is about. So really quickly, just play this thing. So this was made into a 40-minute episode on the Discovery Channel of the show Building Off the Grid. We obviously don't have time to watch this whole show. What I'm going to do today is, like Laurent said, I think what most of y'all are interested, whether you've seen the episode or not, is the detail. Well, let me give kind of the background first. Actually, we bought this piece of property 3 years ago when we moved. My wife's in the military. We moved here 3 years ago. Bought this piece of property. Really wanted to have this really cool piece of property 12 miles outside of San Antonio. A house already on it. But the house was on the main road, Foster Road, which is kind of a commuter road. And so as much as we were out in the country, like we wanted to be, we still couldn't even have like free-range chickens, for example, or really let our kids run free because we were right there on this road. So we had pegged this spot on our land to build a house even before I knew anything about compressed earth blocks. And then a year later, when we bought AECT, it kind of morphed into, well, what if we did an earth block home in that spot. That'd be, that'd be kind of like a demonstration of what you can do with earth blocks, and we get our dream home out of that back of the property. And then the show called me, and when they asked, do you have any projects coming up where you'd be building out of these earth blocks that use paint perfect, it was like, man, this is a no-brainer. We just gotta just jump right in and just do it, don't even think twice, and let's just build a house. We've been talking about it. So let me start the slideshow, and then it's gonna go kind of quick, and then we'll just, I guess, kind of save all your questions to the end. This is literally, we set it up on 13 seconds a slide, so kind of just save the questions, I guess. So this is the house. This is what you'll see in the end is the finished product, 1,000 square foot, 2-bedroom, 1-bath house, 9,500 compressed earth blocks. Portland stabilized earth blocks, about 8%. Portland cement. At least for the time being, I don't know if it'll always be this way, but for the time being, this is the way it looks. It's we didn't put any covering on it. We're really confident in these blocks. So my wife and I designed the house. She found this picture on the internet, and my wife found this picture, Melissa, and she's like, what if we did something like this? So we took out a pencil, she drew up the plan, I drew this real quick and said if it was going to be an earth block, kind of how would it look, how many blocks would it take, and started, we kind of had to get started laying blocks a month later. So you'll also see a lot of reclaimed materials. This is my Uncle Dick, his ranch out 3 hours west of here, and went out finding some materials before the TV crew got out there. This is our 2001A Impact that we made the first run of blocks of, as I said, 8% Portland stabilized. This is kind of one of the first pallets we started running blocks off on, and then as it seems to happen with us, the earth block gods brought us this 2,500. I mean, literally, like the week we were making blocks, and someone brought it to us to sell on consignment, and we used it. We used the rubble trench foundation, which you've heard a lot about. So, just digging a trench. This is about 30 inches deep, about 20 inches wide, and this was, if you've seen the show, the truck got stuck there for 24 hours. We had to dig it out by hand, 20 tons. The show says we did 20 tons of material. That was the second truck. It was 40 tons of gravel, but the second truck got stuck, and then this is a geotextile that keeps the sediment from getting in, and then basically pour the gravel, tamp it down, pour gravel, tamp it down, pour gravel until you're to the top. We went really extreme. I mean, for a lot, I can get into it later, but we wanted to go like extreme. No concrete, no real concrete, no rebar. So we put a souped up slurry under these stabilized blocks and just started laying blocks. We just said, let's just go crazy and just it's going to be on TV. Let's not put a big knee wall made out of concrete. If we're going to make a house out of earth blocks, let's make a house out of earth blocks. So that's the first course. This is the fun part for me. There's a lot of preparation. There's making blocks. There's doing the foundation, and then when you start laying these blocks, it's a joy for me to just I love seeing it come together like that. This is the first house I've built. I had built some other structures. So door bucks going in, blocks getting in place, level lines are set up. I'd never even begun to build a chimney before, but I just started stacking blocks in the shape of a chimney, and and then it seemed to work. So now it's really kind of rocking and rolling. We got a story pole set up on all the corners. We got door bucks in. We got not quite window bucks, but we got level lines up, and the cows were really interested. They thought they were getting a new barn or something. They were really, they were interested. Let's see, I think these are the windows I got from Uncle Dick's place, cast iron off of an old hospital in San Angelo. He pulled them off 20 years ago, and they were sat in his pasture until 6 months ago, or I guess until a year ago, and knocked the rust off, primed them, painted them. I put this picture on Facebook, and some guy from somewhere in South America, he said, that's funny because in our country we bring the cows in, and we don't have expensive fancy compactors, so we bring like 50 cows in, and that's how we compact. Yeah. So now, yeah, so the windows are all in, story poles up, kind of coming together. Really, this is the fun part. I mean, this is like going. This is a guy named William Kennedy, one of these guys who calls me up and goes, hey, I'm interested in learning about blocks. Can I come down? He drove like 6 hours from Dallas to lay blocks for a day. And he actually did a really good job. He laid them really nice and straight. So yeah, kind of coming together. It goes real fast during this phase, right until the point you kind of get to this level, and then things kind of now at this point it kind of comes to a screeching. At least it slows down really fast. But yeah, kind of working up to that roof level. This is what I later found out is called a gringo block, but just kind of working it. Our framer is this guy. He was born in El Salvador, and he grew up in an earthen home, and he was the one that suggested this to me when we started talking about how we're going to secure this roof down. But those were every 3 feet. It's just a piece of wood in lieu of a block every 3 feet. So now the last block has been laid to where we can put a roof on at this point. So I think in the next slide, yeah, and that's just from the front view. But don't look at our scaffolds. You'll cringe. But let's see. I think yeah. So that's just one more last picture. It's kind of the work site right before the roof goes on. And yeah, those last few courses just really are kind of tough getting those 18-pound blocks up there. Yeah, the story pole's still in place. And then, this is a camera guy right here. This is one of these they would drop in 2 days a month. And okay, so now the roof's going on, and I think I have some pictures of sort of the detail of how we went about that. So we maybe here in a second. There's my son right here, Maxwell, checking out the fireplace. No, this is this 100-year-old beam we got from Picker's Paradise. We got a lot of stuff from Picker's Paradise on Fredericksburg Road. Yeah, they have really cool stuff in there. It came from Wisconsin, hand-hewn, was it mortise and tenon or whatever it's called. Let's see. Yeah, so all the rafters sort of going up. And then, oh yeah, that's me finally putting on some roofing. It seemed like forever before we could get to getting the roof actually on. So that was a bit. Then the camera crew was there for that. So we were kind of. So this is so we would put this 2x4 across, and then it would nail down into these gringo blocks, and then of course these rafters were then nailed to that, and then the blocks were laid on either side of the 2x4, and then blocks across that. So it's and there was 700 more. Even after I got to this point, I had 700 more blocks to lay, all in here, and this is like one of the last gaps to fill. So then that would be covered up with blocks. So it's, I forget what it was, but it's 700 times 18 pounds. So it was several, I guess a couple thousand pounds of blocks holding that 2x4 down. But then the rafters are hemmed in on either side by blocks all the way across. And then we went to work on the internal walls. This wall in particular was kind of a hodgepodge where we kind of had some experimental blocks, a little bit of different recipes, because it wasn't going to be exposed to the elements, and it wasn't going to be load bearing, and it was going to be a 12-inch thick wall. We kind of tried a few different things, so I don't know. And because we were going to ultimately lime plaster it, it kind of looked ugly up until we put the plaster on it. We just took an angle grinder with a masonry blade and cut that out. It takes about 4 minutes to do that. People are always really interested in wondering how you do that. This was really, we didn't really need to go this far, but that's for the breaker box. But this is something that people can't usually get their head wrapped around with. The picture's great. So yeah, this is where I said it was kind of like, just kind of some different soils, and this dirt was the dirt from right on site that we dug out of the ground. And this was just doing something fun with this wall. But yeah, this dirt came out of the ground. This is our machine. Got this conveyor set up. It came here and curled around. And this is the epitome of, you know, compressed earth blocks and sustainability, where you just run them off, and they come here, and then you start laying them on the wall. So it's not like that when you're doing the stabilized blocks. For the unstabilized, that you can do that. Just bring them right off. And then so that's what it looks like before we plastered it. That was really just kind of my little work of art. This is live oak that came off the property, probably a 150-year-old tree that we cut up a couple years earlier. Again, not knowing what we were going to do with it. This is the other section of internal walls. You can see our conduit going underneath the floor, and then this would ultimately be the bathroom. And then from there, just starting to work up. Kind of got the story pole set up to keep the lines level and keep the walls plumb. And then that's that finished section. This is where the medicine cabinet went. So I chose to just build a void so it could sit in, and then I put tiny slivers of blocks behind it after it was all done. This was just really just playing around at this point. This was just blocks that made the shelves in the shower area. Stabilized, of course, cement stabilized. But really just seeing what all you can do with the blocks. You might recognize this, Bella. This is Tim White, showing us how to do an earth floor. So that the base material of this earth came out of the ground right there on site, and then we mixed in some other sands that you'll see later. But I had never done anything like this, so he would kind of show me how, and then he'd do like, you know, 25% of the house, and then I'd carry on doing the rest. And that's the base coat of the earth floor, which is about 3 inches thick, and it needs to be generally level, but it can be rough because it's going to get another coat on it. But that's just the foundation and then that's actually the last coat. I think that angle makes it look a little rougher than it looked in real life, but I like the way the floor turned out. It kind of goes with the house. It's a little bit rustic. The floor's really grown on me. I know you can make it a lot smoother. I mean, obviously a professional can make it a lot smoother and everything, but I really do like the floor. This was just something that we didn't plan on, but this wall we weren't going to plaster, so this electrician took it upon himself to do it. He grinded that out, and then he mashed it back in, and then I just put mud back over it, and that's what it looked like. So instead of having a groove cut up, that's kind of extreme. I mean, I don't know how practical that would be in real life. I mean, to like do a whole house, but this was the dirt right out on site that we sifted, and then this was some of the masonry sand or concrete sand, and this is this petite red sand that we used for most of our slurry, and actually for the base material that we used for a lot of our blocks. And then it was this sort of mixture. I think it ended up being 6. I think it was like 3, 2, 3, and then this is a paddle mixture that we rented. And then you would make what Tim calls a brown sugar consistency that was actually for the wall. That's how the consistency we made it for the wall plaster. So the base material really is just what it came out of the ground right there, and that's what we used to. This is the scratch coat of the earth wall covering. But we liked it so much that, like this wall in particular, we actually just left it brown. The idea was that it was all going to be this off-white, this American clay product. But A, we kind of ran out, B, we kind of ran out of time, and C, we actually really liked the way. That's my wife, Melissa. I'm not sure what she's doing in that picture, but she did most of this plaster in this house. She's a doctor, but she just does earth plasters in her free time. She could help on the weekends. So this is kind of it drying out. This wall would ultimately become that white, but like you'll see when it's all done. I really like that earthen wall covering. Like really forgiving. So this is how it is after you trowel it on, and this is just taking a wet sponge and just like buffing it. That's the only difference between these two pictures, and that's what it's kind of finished out looking like. Really forgiving. You can always fix it later if you had to. So yeah, now all the wall covering's on. And let's see, yeah, bathroom coming together. And yeah, Melissa's back there. It was 32 degrees that day, so she's back there doing earth plaster with a ski mask on a Saturday. And that's the bathroom before putting the off-white American clay product. Oh yeah, this is my chimney. So just kept stacking blocks. I mean, this whole part was really just a facade. I mean, I didn't really know that's what it was going to be, but actually I really like the way this whole thing was like 1,500 blocks by itself, and it was Melissa's bright idea. But I was kind of cursing it as I'm like laying block after block. But in the end, I really like the way it looks. Santos Ramos, this guy from El Salvador, pulled these out of the trash, out of a job that he was on. He pulled those literally out of the dumpster of the job that he was working on at the time. And he said, you might need these. And so it's really just like a monolith. I mean, it's really just like a monument where it's just in your face blocks. I really like architecturally, I like the way it looks. It really plays well. And so this is Maxwell and William. They're kind of learning to use the cutter and pass so many blocks. This is when I was doing these little meticulous blocks, cut after cut, 700 blocks up there. And then now it's kind of coming together. Glass finally we put this double paned glass in the windows. It's 3/4 inch thick. Yeah, really starting to kind of come into its own at this point. We went like forever without having glass in the windows. Seemed like we never would get there. Then this is just taking some pointers from Tim White. This is putting the hot linseed oil on the floor. But now it had dried like 3 or 4 weeks, and you heat this oil to 240 degrees and you just roll it on. Some leaves had blown in, but then it kind of gives it that richer color, and it seals it and it hardens it. And as he said, it hardens over like 3 months, and you could tell 3 months in. This is like a spot I had fixed it, and I hadn't yet buffed it. I hadn't yet taken the wet sponge and fixed it, but that's kind of the difference between having sponged it and not. And then this is just like a reclaimed wood burning stove from Uncle Dick. And these cabinets were reclaimed from his property. This sink was. All these timbers were off old powerful cross arms. These are those old glass insulators off power poles. Santos Ramos took this wood out of the dumpster, out of the trash. This shiplap that some renovator had told him, the house he was renovating, they said, throw that stuff in the dumpster. And he pulled it out for us. And then, again, left this wall kind of that brown, and then we ended up with the white on the rest of the walls, and then some probably 100-year-old shiplap from Picker's Paradise. These came off the Riverwalk. These came off Commerce Street. They were renovating a building. They took down the drop ceiling, and above that was this like over 100-year-old ceiling boards. There's some pictures of our cows, and this is like an old hand-hewn beam that we had. Oh, and both of these things came from Picker's Paradise. That door did as well. And I think just a few more slides. Just old reclaimed wood. This room we had done this slip coat of a floor that we kind of ran out of time to do the rest of the house, but it's got a little bit different of a texture. And then this is kind of the big reveal day where about really 4 months and 26 days after breaking ground is this date. These doors came from Amsterdam via Picker's Paradise. And Melissa kind of had that idea to paint everything black, and it really turned out good. She's got an eye for that stuff. And then that's the outside solar. So it's 100% off the grid. So solar power, 8 kilowatt system. rainwater recapture, and we got some propane to do the oven and the water heater, tankless water heater. I think we're about at the end, and so yeah, so the fireplace kind of came together, so indoor-outdoor fireplace, and yeah, like I said, just in your face, just giant wall of blocks, which look really cool. And then that's that last day. The whole family kind of glad to be done. I lost 20 pounds. I hadn't been that light in 15 years. I barely got down to 179, but like I'm already back up to 200 again. So yeah, what's that? Yeah, building a house. I mean, the show couldn't. I mean, they weren't like being overly dramatic. Like there wasn't that. They focused on the night where I was up till 1 a.m. laying blocks because the crew was coming the next day to film us putting a roof on. So I had like 500 blocks to do. Like, and so they add. I think the thing about most reality TV is like pretty fabricated, but for construction ones, it can't help but be real. Like the truck can't help but get stuck, and then the backhoe can't help but fall in the trench, and then you can't help but just fall like weeks and weeks behind schedule. That's what happens on construction projects. So I think those guys have like, it just works right into their favor to come out and just film what's happening. But then they do. It's kind of a self-fulfilling thing because they're going, hey, when can you put the roof on? And I say, like maybe January 21st, that weekend. And they go, okay. So they book their flights and they get the whole train going. And there's cameramen coming from over here and there and producers. And then, so when it's like January 18th and there's still 1,500 blocks to lay, I'm kind of sitting there, like I think I was up 3 or 4 nights in a row till like after midnight, and it was like 35 degrees, and that mainly I was missing meals, and B, I was just working through lunch, and I was working 7 days a week, and then but also just lifting 18-pound blocks, 9,500. I mean, I probably of this 9,500, I reckoned I laid probably close to 8,000 blocks with my hands. So I actually was in really good. I mean, I felt really good. I was in really good shape. But that's it. So I don't know. I know now it's just, I guess, questions. So we have like 30 minutes for questions plus, or when is it supposed to?
I think just technically speaking,
yeah.
I was out there when you were at the peak of it, and you were below 179 because there were at least 14 pounds of dirt and beard.
I grew a pretty good beard. I probably grew the biggest beard in my life as well. But yeah, there's a lot. Yeah, I was dirty most of the time. Yeah, I put a hurting on the washing machine. Yeah.
So how many nights have you slept the night in it?
Yeah, I've slept probably like 40 nights. So just to catch everyone up. So Melissa got orders to Maxwell Air Force Base in Montgomery, Alabama, like as we were finishing the house. Mm-hmm. So the idea is we're gonna live in it forever, and we may like expand on it, but the family is in, like I flew from Montgomery this morning. Oh, wow. So I woke up in Montgomery, but it was a good chance for me to come back, and I'm gonna stay back, and Melissa's coming the 16th to the 20th for training. So this is the second time she's had to come back for a week-long training, so it's kind of like we're kind of working it out. But we stayed in it as a family for 2 weeks, right before moving to Montgomery, because they had taken our stuff out of our other house. And then whenever I come back, which averages like 1 week a month, I stay there. And then during the week, it's like our showroom. It's like our model home. So we get visitors all the time. So it's like, oh, why don't you come look at what you can do with Earth blocks? And then on the weekends, it's on Airbnb, and it's booked out every single weekend. Every single weekend that we've made it available, it's booked out, and people love it. I mean, obviously people they're beside themselves. We rent it for $100 a night, which I think is pretty good. Yeah. I mean, it sleeps. I guess it technically sleeps 6 because there's a futon. But yeah, that's the situation with the house. So I've probably slept 40 or 50 nights, and I'm gonna be sleeping in the next 18 minutes. Yeah.
So do you just heat it with the wood stove?
So we haven't I've been gone. I'd actually been gone for 2 months, and we actually haven't had to heat it yet. But we've got the fireplace. We're kind of like working this stuff out as we go, and we've got that wood burning stove, and we've got that fireplace, and we're gonna try that. And then if like worst case, if we have to get like some kind of propane heater or even a little electric heater, we'll figure it out. But we've kind of taken this stance where we're just like figuring it out as we go.
Where do you use your water from?
Rainwater.
Rainwater?
Yep.
Do you use UV to sanitize?
Yep. I put in that whole system. We use we do like a paper filtration, sediment filtration into carbon filtration. Have you not seen the show? You got to see the show, Mike. Get and then into a UV sterilizer, and then on in. Yeah, then yeah.
But I don't see any gutters. What is the rainwater?
Yeah, it's on the back. It's on the back side. But yeah, there's a whole piece on the show of me putting in gutters and kind of bumbling around with it.
What's your capacity, your tank capacity?
1,600 gallons. Yeah. So we I had to fill it up manually one time this summer. I just went to the shop and took one of those 150 gallon totes and just took over at the shop there, just filled it up a few times, got a sump pump and just pumped it.
You're probably gonna, if you want, I don't know, what's your square footage of the roof?
It is, so that roof is 40 feet by 40 feet by 20 feet. And so one time we got an inch of rain and it put 1,000 gallons in there. Now another time we got an inch of rain and it put 400 gallons, and we figured out it was like the direction of the wind. If the wind was coming from that way, it was like piling up the rain, and it just like gushed in. And then, but if the wind was going that way, it just like kind of blew the rain off. So it was interesting to see that. I mean, it was literally like in the same week, it was an inch, got 400 gallons, and then a few days later, an inch gave 1,000 gallons. When people will stay there, they usually use 200 to 300 gallons of water. And that's the other benefit of only having people in there on the weekend. But to your point, yeah, it's probably like if we were living there as a family full time, yeah, we'd have to have a different solution. But, yeah, go ahead.
Any gray water diversion?
No.
Using up your gray water for anything?
No.
I mean, you have your black water, obviously.
Right. No? You mean like the bathtub water? Yeah.
Washing machine or something.
We haven't been using the washing machine just because we don't want to use up water anyway. It definitely cause even just the few weeks that we've been there, it definitely gets you thinking in like a conserving kind of way, because you're like, I'm always like turning off lights. Like I don't even dare leave a light on, because if you're on battery at night, and then same with water, you're like really like short showers, and we kind of had to deal. Well, again, we've just been kind of going to the laundromat just because we don't want to use up water and we don't want to use up electricity. So it kind of just makes sense. So it's really kind of, for us, it's kind of an experiment, but it's kind of getting introduced to the lifestyle, kind of gently, I
You have
guess.
8 kW?
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's supposed to keep us, if there were like no sunlight, it would go for a day and a half. I mean, yeah.
You have a power wall or no storage?
A power wall? I mean,
Batteries.
yeah, we have 16 batteries, which I mean, I guess is that I'm honestly kind of dumb on the solar stuff, but all I know is it's 8 kilowatt, and I know there's 16 of these batteries that someone told me they're the same as a golf cart battery.
Yeah, it was a deep cycle.
Yeah, okay, yeah, deep cycle, but and then they're all linked together, and I always thought that was the 8 kilowatt part, but maybe not. Maybe that's the voltage part. It's like, I guess it's called like.
Batteries are based on how many hours.
Okay.
So
Kilowatt.
yes.
Oh, kilowatt hour. So all I know is, like he said, kind of if there was, based off of what we've got going in that house, that if there were like no sunlight, we would still go for a day and a half.
You store the batteries in the house? Or?
No, they're out. They're right outside. They're right outside the over here underneath the. They're underneath the carport, up against the house. But then I have this enclosure that's insulated that I built that's insulated.
Cows can't eat the wires.
No, it's all covered up. It's all covered up and insulated. But yeah.
Did you have someone put in the solar and?
Yeah, I didn't know anything about solar. So we had this company called, we did get some pretty good like sort of deals. There's a company called Team Green Solar. And this young guy showed up, and I thought he was like the salesman. It was only like on the third visit that I realized he owned the company, and he must be like, I think he's 27 or 28 or something. His name's Mario Ramon. And they basically gave us the labor for free. I mean, it was okay. So we built this house for $50,000. That was the build. So $50 a square foot. But then I don't count. Then there's $20,000 for that solar panel system. And that was just the material. I mean, supposedly.
Wow.
That was just the material.
And 50's not counting like your labor or anybody.
Right.
It's just materials.
I did pay for some labor. I mean, I always forget. I always forget if it was 20 material, 30 labor, or 30 material, 20 labor. I think it was 30,000 material, 20,000 in labor. I've got the breakout I can get to you. I've got it in Excel. But there was some. Let's see. The roof was the only thing that was all new and not reclaimed and full price like MG Materials kind of purchase, and that one we didn't see a way around. Even like the roof, for instance. Anyway, I'll get you the breakout, but I think the roof was like $5,000 or $6,000, and then it was like $1,500 of gravel for the foundation. So the foundation was $1,500, including delivery. I mean, like $700 of that is like delivery. I mean, but I had the average crew on the ground was like 2.5 or 3 people. I mean, on an average day, there were like 3 people were building this thing. So the other 2 people are usually paid people. Usually, I mean, yeah. Go ahead.
Did you put in the insulation at all?
Yeah, it was kind of. A lot of people asked that. It was kind of hard to tell, but we got this polyiso stuff off of Craigslist that was reclaimed out of old reefers. It came from Dallas. It's that rigid stuff, So we would put those boards like, and they were in 8-foot lengths. So we would kind of put like 8 feet worth of those boards, and then we'd put a piece in. And so like, did you see the show? So a lot, it looked like there wasn't any. They had a way of not, because we would go and then we would go and so.
So it sits on the
it kind of sits. It kind of sits on the ceiling, and then you kind of have a natural gap then from the top of that to the metal roof. I mean, the insulation we definitely could have done better. I mean, money was always a consideration, and we probably could have stood to do double the amount of insulation. Like it's only that thick. It's like 3.5 inches thick. But really, probably we should have. Well, they say that stuff does double. It's equivalent to 7 inches. 3.5 inches is equal to 7 inches of the pink stuff. And so, but we could have stood to put 7 inches of that and have that equal to 14 inches of traditional insulation. But we didn't have all the money in the world. So, but yeah, to your point, I had calculated. I had always figured I did 1,000 hours on this house. I worked 1,000 hours. So, if I'm $30 an hour, that's another $30,000. So yeah, it's definitely. It's kind of, you can get, I mean, to do the exercise you're doing. I'll send you some more information, but it's, I mean, the loaded question is always, how much does it cost to do this stuff? So, we feel like we were penny pinching, free materials left and right, free labor, my wife working, me working, and it still costs $50,000, not counting the solar. And so, in some ways, it's kind of not depressing, but it's like, it's,
I think you
it's,
were
It's
overworked.
it's kind of scary. Yeah, because you're like,
Are you keeping track of performance and things like that?
no, I mean, Steve and I have kind of talked, I don't know, you thought he might want to do something. I mean, I'm up for doing something on it. I've been doing a lot of work on our website, and a lot of stuff I inherited from Lawrence, and there's like this introductory letter from Lawrence, and I basically kept the same letter and just wrote mine, signed, sincerely Ryan instead of Lawrence. And I was looking at it this week, and it's like riddled with the word inexpensive. I mean, it must have said inexpensive like 10 times, and it was like so inexpensive, and then I was like, oh man. And after doing this, because I had the conversation with Melissa, and as we were kind of getting close, and I was like, oh man, I'm like literally like killing myself. And if I had to do one of these houses for someone, I mean, I don't know. I think I'd have to charge like $250,000 for that house. I mean, I don't see, because as much as we did it in 5 months, really, it should have taken 8 months. I mean, I shouldn't have been like working 7 days a week and through lunch and like 14, 16 hours a day. And it's been, so it's, a lot of it was efficient because it was like boom, in and out. But it's definitely a big question of is it inexpensive or not. So I think I also included in that I included that as making blocks. The labor in that number is the labor of making blocks. So when you, yeah. But anyway, like I said, I've got it all in an Excel spreadsheet.
What are the external measurements, the height, the width, and the length?
58 feet by 18 feet. And then of course it's an L, so it's like, I could get you that, but it goes 58 and then 25 and then 18. Sorry, it's an L, Generally it's 56 feet by 18 feet.
And how tall are the walls?
Oh, and then this was like 10 and a half feet, and on the back it was like 8 feet, 4 inches. Yeah.
Would you build the foundation the same way again if you were doing this again?
I mean, I like the idea of the Rebel Trench Foundation. We had I'd never built a house before, let alone an earth block house. But we had built the shop. That was like the first structure I'd ever built, that 3,200 square foot shop, and we did like a souped up foundation. I mean, that foundation was like $50,000 and like 4,000 PSI concrete and like 3/4 inch rebar and the whole works. And then we had heard all this stuff about the Rebel Trench, and I did that barn. Just like 3 or 4 months prior to this, I needed a barn, and just for fun, built a barn. And I go, well, I'm going to do a Rebel Trench foundation because I just want to see, like, it sounds too good to be true. And then once we did that, I go, man, it just makes so much sense. So it was never a question on this house. And that was actually where we had also experimented. We had done the Rebel Trench for the barn, and we had done I guess you would call the double footer foundation, where we put the like a 3.5 or 4 inch pad. Y'all saw that. Y'all came out and saw that. A pad of concrete, just really for no other reason to make a flat surface to start with, and have something to put the waterproofing agent on, or moisture barrier. But then there was like this associated wall that kind of completed the corral. And I go, what if on this one, what if it's just a wall? Like literally it's just a wall to keep cows in. So I was like, what if on that one, what if we don't do that little concrete pad? Because there's framing, you have to buy wood, and then you have to pay people, and then you have to buy some kind of reinforcement wire or rebar, and you spend a whole day like making that pad. And I was like, what if on this one, what if we just put like a pretty high concentration, I don't know, 15 to 20% Portland cement based earth slurry, and set it in there on top of the Rebel Trench. And that's what we did. And again, when we saw that, we're just like, it just makes too much sense. I mean, it's quicker, it's more eco-friendly. Again, with this house, we kind of always kept in mind people are going to be coming and looking at it, and I think on my mind it was always it's going to be on TV, and like I would watch Building Off the Grid, and sometimes you like kind of like poke fun at the people building, and you're like, that's not, oh man, you're talking this big game about being eco-friendly, and you just poured like 50 cubic yards of concrete, right? and so I didn't want even like not a knee wall or even a concrete pad. I didn't want any trace of pouring concrete where someone's like, well, what's all that concrete about? I thought this was the Earth house. Like we kind of wanted to go extreme, like, and even up to like, I don't know, even up to the blocks up here, I probably could have just punted and like maybe put some siding or something. We kind of made the decision where we're like, we're gonna do a rubble trench, and then we're just gonna go with earth blocks, and that's what the house is gonna be made out of, earth block. I don't know. I hate that idea of. I just hate that idea of like, oh well, then go with some concrete up to here, and then put a concrete bond beam at the top, and you're like, man, that was a lot of concrete. That was a lot of work. It was a lot of money. I don't know. I think I would do it again. I like it. Any other questions?
One last question if anybody has it.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool.
Thank you very much.
All right.